Hi, this is Kabir. Today I'm going to be playing a 15-minute game with 10-second increment, so it's a nice standard game. I'll be playing black. I'll be talking about my thought processes as I play this game, and I hope that by doing so, you'll be able to take something out of it. So enjoy. Disclaimer: I'm not a national master, FIDE master, or any sort of title player. I'm just an avid chess player. And if you're new to the game, perhaps you can take something out of this. So e4, e5. Pretty common opening. I don't know why it's taking so long for his second move. Oh, okay. He's gonna go for the King's Gambit. The accepted lines are a little bit too sharp for my liking, so I'm just gonna go with the main line, Knight c6, Bishop c5. And generally it's Bishop c5, then d6, then Knight c6, but I don't know if that makes much of a difference. Yep, we've transposed in the main line now. Now plays d4. Honestly, my openings are a little bit rusty, I'll be honest. It's pretty bad, I should study up. But I believe the correct line now is to take. If I don't take, what am I doing? Letting him control the center. Way too much. Bishop b6 or bishop b4 check. I feel like I'm going to end up this opening with a really poor position, but hopefully I'll be able to play myself out of it. I'm going to go for bishop b6 just because it'll be annoying for him to castle later. I kind of don't want to trade off this dark square bishop because he has major dark square weaknesses on the king side because of playing this opening. Knight in d5. Gonna go knight e7 or knight f6. Knight f6 gets me pushed around a lot. Gonna go with knight e7. Notice if he ever plays bishop b5, yeah, I've got to castle immediately or do something because this d5 threat is just crushing. So, castle now. It's all pretty standard moves so far. Nothing out of the ordinary. He castles too. Now this d4 pawn is pinned. I don't know if I can do anything about that though. So there's this common theme in the King's Gambit that if I were to play bishop g4, he simply plays h3, then I play bishop h5 because I don't want to take the knight because bishops are better than knights. He plays g4, I play bishop g6, he plays f4, and he's trapped my piece. So bishop g4 looks super appealing, but I just can't do it. It's not on the table for me right now to do. I'm just gonna kick this bishop, give him a question, give myself a little bit of room to work with if ever necessary. If he trades his bishop off, then I'll have the... No, he's not going to give me the bishop pair. Huh. Okay, so my pieces are not so well coordinated right now. What can I do to improve their coordination? I'm looking for a nice pawn break. If I were to play the d5 pawn break, nope, d5 doesn't look like a good pawn break. Those other moves like knight b4 doesn't do anything. F5. F5 you could respond to with e5, after which I have nothing. I've worked myself into a really poor position right now. But I'm going to play bishop g4 nonetheless. Give up my bishop pair because I don't think the light squares are super important to me right now. I'm really focused on those dark squares. And the idea here is that if he is to play h3, I'm not going to go back to bishop h5. I'm just going to sack my... okay. We're going for this. I guess that was smart of him. Takes. so I can't really take that pawn. Now the d5 pawn break might make sense. If I play d5, he plays e takes d5, I play knight takes d5. And if I play d5 and he plays something like e5 and tries to close up the position, then I have this knight to f5 move. Yep, I like that. Maybe I didn't calculate that enough. We'll see. I might get punished right now. Okay, let's see. e5, knight f5 looks crushing. Yeah, that looks winning. Alternatives, e takes d5. There's h3 on the table always. I'll look at that later. E takes d5, knight takes d5. That also looks pretty good. If bishop takes c6, then I take his e3 bishop with a fork. And he really cares about that dark squared bishop, I'll tell you that much. If he plays h3, what the hell do I do? h3. Okay, so he went with that. Now I think the move I was suggesting before was knight to f5. I still think it's a good move. Yep, I don't see any immediate problems with it. I'm second guessing myself so much right now just because I'm on video. A little bit camera shy, guys. Okay. I'm threatening an immediate fork, of course. And I'm also putting lots of pressure on that d4 square. So I have a double threat at the moment. I think that there's really no way to protect against both threats. Okay, so he's going to retreat, which means that I have moves like knight takes d4, knight c takes d4, mind you, for that matter, because I just don't want his bishop to try and reduce one of my defenders. Also, my knight on f5 is better placed than my knight on c6, so it makes more sense to take with my c6 knight. Huh. Am I missing something? Am I missing something? Biggest question a chess player always asks himself. No matter what he does, he'll never be satisfied with his move completely. Knight takes. You know what? This is pointless. If I don't play this move, I don't know what I am playing. My only concern is that one day his dark squared bishop will exchange itself for mine and give me double pawns. But right now I'm up a pawn, so I don't know what I should be extremely worried about. Huh. And if I did mess up, then it's my fault. So, in which case I deserve to lose. I guess that's one way to think of it. Oh no. What did I do wrong? Huh, wait. That looks like an outright blunder. Okay, if I do bishop takes with check, his king has to move, and then I play knight e3 with the fork. What the hell? And he's also just giving me his bishop. Was that move even necessary? You know what the grandmasters say, to take is a mistake. He could have just let his bishop stay on f2. I didn't have any direct threats to my knowledge. Uh, maybe he saw something I didn't. Okay, so if I play knight takes, then I'm setting up this nice discovered attack. But his rook is, but I don't really have anything after king h1. So knight takes d4. My bishop's in line with his king. I have a lot of cool like, oh, I can take this knight with check, etc. Blah blah blah. But it doesn't amount to much because why? Because his king will just move. Yeah, I don't really think there's a point in recapturing with my knight. Notice that he can't take back with his knight or his queen because he'll lose his queen somehow. I'll leave you to calculate that. Um, you know what? If I can see a winning variation, there's really no reason to question myself. I think he didn't calculate enough, honestly. What the heck? Did he just sacrifice his queen? He did. He actually did. I should be rejoicing right now, but instead I'm extremely scared. I'm up by 4 points. Okay, so you know the rule. You're up by material, you want to just simply trade material, and yeah, that's that. So first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to get his knight out of this really nice square with a simple c5 push. Now his knight can't go to b5, his knight can't go to c6, his knight can't go to, yeah, it has to go back basically. Second thing I'm going to do is should I kick the bishop out with a b5 advance? Is it worth it? Oh my god. I've never been so nervous before. Okay, queen b6, hitting the b2 pawn. Lining my queen up with his king. But then what after knight takes d5? You know what? Positionally, it just makes sense to play b5 right now, so I'm just going to do that. Okay, he's hitting that twice, so. Advance. Kick his bishop off this entirely. I'm putting on a good square, so maybe that's not a great thing, but it's okay. I'm actually somewhat considering taking on f3 just because I like I said, when you're up by material, you wanna exchange as much as possible, but I don't know if that's enough of exchange. And I just noticed something. How did I not notice this before? I have a connected passed pawn. As soon as I play d4 and d3, my pawn chain will be massive, and that's gonna be a pain in the ass to deal with. Excuse my French. I'm so sorry. I get weird when I play chess. For those of you who know me, you'll know that I'm just a weird guy in general. Yes, I am currently eating my lunch at 6 p.m. because I'm super jet lagged. Yeah, so this connected central passed pawn is going to be a pain to deal with. And if he moves back to bishop c2, he's not going to have a fun time after I play d4, moving his knight, and then d3, getting another tempo, forcing him to move his bishop to either d1 or b1. If his bishop goes to c2 and my pawn gets to d3, he's going to move it to b1, to d1 for sure. He doesn't want his bishop to be here and trapped by my massive pawn chain. Think about it. If my pawn were here, his bishop was here, how is he ever going to get his bishop into the action of this game? Like, it can't ever maneuver itself out, if that makes sense. That's a chess idea you should be familiar with. So I could do this in two ways. I could straight up push. Okay, he just resigned. And he left the chat. So that's not great sportsmanship. I'm going to continue this game. hypothetically to show you what would happen. So I would make a move like d4. He can't take it, protecting my own queen. He would move his knight. Where does he move his knight to? Can't move his knight to a4, can't move his knight to b5, can't move his knight to d5, can move it to e4, cannot move it to e2 because of this fork with d3, and d1 is just an awful square, so I'm assuming he would have moved his knight here. Then I played this d3 move. As I just told you, it makes no sense for him to move his bishop back to b1, because then it's totally out of the game. It'll never be useful. So he's going to be forced to move his bishop to d1. Now, not only do I have this massive pawn chain in the center of the board, that's just a super pain in the ass, I'm also up by 4 points. I have my queen, which he doesn't have. And what else? And I think I might have a tactic here. No, I don't. Okay. So, had he moved his bishop to b1, I would have had this tactic where I could have taken this knight. His rook would have taken back. Nope, never mind. Sorry. I did not have a tactic there. But I still have this connected pass pawn that's on 2 squares away from queening. And yeah, it makes sense for him to resign. This is a very lost position at the moment. I'd keep trading off all the material equally, and then I don't know. It's a crushing game. I can still always take on this knight on f3. He recaptures. I play queen d4 check, and then I could win the pawn on b2 or the knight on e4, depending on what he does. Or I could just continue to push my pawn more after taking this knight. There's too many options for me. So let's go back a little bit. Let's analyze this game again. So the start he played the king's gambit. I played the wrong. Well, the main line is bishop c4, bishop c5. The idea is that he's not able to take this pawn on e5, because then I play queen h4 check. g3 or something has to be defended, because if he plays king e7, then I have this like queen f2 move, forcing his king to the center of the board, which is bad at the beginning of the game, as you probably know. So bishop c5 is a normal move. If he's stupid enough to take the e5 pawn, then you got queen h4 check, probably g3, then you have queen takes e4 check, king f7 or bishop e2 or something to block the check, and then I take his rook on h1. So when I take on e4 check, I'll be forking his king and his rook. So that's a little bit of opening theory for you. Now, yeah, so white got this d4 move in. I think over here he has a much better position. King's Gambit is a really attacking game. If you're going to play it, you've got to be prepared for sharp lines. You've got to know exactly what you're doing. I think he knew what he was doing to an extent. He seems to be familiar with the opening. He didn't make too many opening errors, and I had a much worse position after this opening. Now, it's really difficult for black to choose where to deploy his light-squared bishop during the King's Gambit, because as I said, g4 never really makes sense. Well, it did in that once. It usually doesn't make sense to play bishop g4. I found a way where I could get it in. I want to play bishop g4 because it pins the knight to the queen, but if you play bishop g4, you've got to be willing to take this f3 pawn if he plays the h3 move. Why? Bishop g4, h3, bishop h5, g4, bishop g6, f5, and your bishop is trapped. Generally, it doesn't make sense to take this knight on f3 with your bishop because you don't want to exchange your good bishop for his slightly less good knight, if you will. I did it later in the game because it allowed me to win a pawn. So you'll see what I mean when we go through it again. So he played this knight c3 move. I was debating between knight f6 and knight e7. I chose knight e7 because my knight would never be able to be pushed around by this e5 move. Also, it just gives my knight more support in case his bishop comes to b5 and ever tries to double my pawns. I didn't want to put my bishop on d7. I wanted to find a way to get it to g4 by putting pressure on the d4 pawn, which is exactly what I did. So I castled here because of the threat of d5, attacking a pinned piece. When your piece is pinned and it gets attacked, you can't move it, so it'll probably be lost in the next move. I could try a6, he could go bishop to a4, maintaining the pin, and then I have no way to question the bishop or any of his pieces again, and I would have just simply lost material. So castles, castles. Notice now that his d4 pawn is pinned, so whenever you play the King's Gambit with the f4 on the second move, you've got to be really wary of your dark square weaknesses, which uh, which he probably didn't take care of well enough. So this bishop e3 move, I don't know. I really don't know how he could have defended against this better. I'm really racking my brain over this. I think that I kind of just continued to put pressure on the d4 pawn to the point where it was no longer possible for him to defend. Or maybe he just defended wrong. Okay, so bishop e3 makes sense. You're protecting this pawn. And I can't take the knight because the rook takes, and I've just lost my good bishop, and I don't even have enough attackers on this d4 square. Right now I have 2 attackers. He has 3 defenders, but actually only 2 because this knight's not really a defender, as it's pinned. So 2 attackers, 2 defenders. There was really no way I could have taken this pawn. So I tried to get myself another attacker, which was my knight on e7. I wanted to get it to this f5 square, or I wanted to at least harass this bishop and make it move back to f2 so I could take this pawn on f4. So my idea here was that by playing d5, if he's to take my pawn, I'll take back with my knight. If his knight takes my knight, then I'll recapture with my queen, giving me another attacker on d4, and I'm preparing to bring one of my rooks into the attack too. The other idea was that if he pushes the pawn, then I'll play knight to f5, attacking both his bishop and the pawn, and he won't be able to save both. So he played e5, completely missing this idea of knight f5, I think. What he should have done instead, he should have simply played pawn h3. Honestly, I don't have any direct attack right now. I'm threatening pawn takes e4, knight takes e4, and then I guess I have this queen on the d file now that's into the attack. What could have you done to stop this? Huh. Maybe, just maybe, this mistake was earlier. Maybe it wasn't right to castle. Maybe he should have played h3 immediately, making sure my bishop would never come to g4, and he should have preempted that I was going to try and put pressure onto his d4 pawn by means of a pin. I guess that's difficult to see sometimes. And he didn't use much of his time, so he should have thought more. He had a lot of time to think. Maybe castling was a mistake. I don't know. I'll put it into Lichess later. I'll post the Lichess analysis in the YouTube link description, so you'll be able to see exactly where he went wrong and where my analysis went wrong as well. Who knows, maybe some of the moves I made were really stupid. Let's see, only the chess engine can tell you with like that much precision and accuracy. So this was played. I got my pawn. I took with this knight instead of this knight because this knight was in a worse position than this knight, so I wanted to improve this knight's position more so. And then he did this weird move of taking this knight. I don't know why that was forced. He didn't need to do anything, honestly, because say I take his knight on f3, he takes back with his pawn. I play bishop h3. He moves his rook to e1. I mean, okay, let's go back to the let's go through the rest of the game, and then I want to go back to this this position, and we'll analyze it together from there. Bishop takes, bishop takes. So I took back with the bishop because the idea is that if he moves his king, then I have knight to e3 fork, which just wins material outright. Does it actually, though? Huh, wait. King h1, fork. Queen takes bishop. Knight takes rook, rook takes rook. He's gotten 2 pieces for a rook and a pawn. It seems pretty equal. Oh, okay. King moves, and I take this knight. This is called desperado, when you know that one of your pieces is going to be lost. By doing this fork, I know that I'm just outright giving up this bishop. So I take as much material as I can. In this case, I take a knight, make an equal trade. So if king h1, then bishop takes knight, pawn takes knight, and then I land the fork. Anyway, going back to what actually happened. So here, let's analyze this position where he plays h3 or something. Let's say he doesn't do anything and makes a nonsense move. What's my real threat? Knight takes knight, pawn takes knight, bishop here, rook here. And then, do I have anything after this? I mean, I'm looking at things like queen h4, I'm looking at bishop takes bishop, then queen h4. Do I have a real attack? I don't think he saw whether I had a real attack because it seemed he moved rather quickly at this point of the game back here, when he just simply straight up took my knight without a second thought. Maybe he saw that there were attacking chances and he didn't want to take that risk, but this is an even bigger risk to take. And then he didn't even just like let me win a couple points, winning the exchange with knight for rook. Instead, he just outright sacked his queen. Really strange, really strange. Okay, so knight takes knight takes d4. After knight takes d4, I just played positional chess where I expanded my pawns and I took advantage of this d5 passed pawn. So I played c5 like this. He had to move his knight back here because he had no other squares except for c2. But yeah, everywhere else is covered. e2 as well, I suppose. So he played his knight back here. I gained space with my pawns while attacking his bishop with tempo. Moving here was just stupid on his part because he's just letting me get all these tempos. And even here was really stupid. Like, he didn't need to do this. I just keep getting tempos on his bishop. Sorry. Knight move somewhere. Where's the knight move there? Yeah. He should have just straight up moved his bishop from here to there. I don't know why he didn't. I guess by this point, he figured the game was already lost. Anyway, thanks for taking the time to watch this entire video. If you did, even if you just skimmed through it, still thank you. I hope you learned something from it. If you have any questions, you can comment them below. It's my first time doing a game analysis, so it's probably a little bit long-winded. Probably went into too much detail at times and too little detail at other times. But yeah, just give me your comments. Tell me what you think. Tell me what I could have improved for next time, and I'll try to do that in my next video. So that's it for today. Hope you learned something. Thanks.